So there's a topic, nature and purpose of business. Few topics were left. So this is the first topic here. That is a history of trade and commerce basically. So what is the history of trade and commerce? For trade and commerce again is the same. Trade is the selling of goods and services, and commerce is the providing many aids to this trade. So that includes commerce. So now. What were the ways they were using by that time? Definitely that was the water and land ways they were using. All the traders were using in the India. Now basically the seaways like east and west by sea, they were used by the traders, and they're also definitely for the spice. So there is that is known as the spice route. So the question can come, what do you mean by the spice route? Which were the ways which has been used by the Indian traders in the ancient time? That is this. Fine. And then many countries have been joining with the India, like they are having land route, and then many with the sea sea is the main between the two countries and all the neighboring countries in India. So definitely there is a two route, land and sea route. Now the definitely in the ancient time also there was a domestic international trade in the ancient that has been there, and that we can get in the now by that time they were using silver coin, gold coin likewise for the exchange. And for this ancient civilization like Mohenjo-daro or Harappa, they were basically evidence. All the archaeological department, they have got lots of evidence for the trade and commerce existed by that time, and definitely it includes the metal. By that time they used to have metal and many technology they were using over there, and the archaeological department are having proof for that. Now next point is indigenous banking system. So this is the banking system basically that is concerned with the metal coin that have been used for exchange, and then documents like hundis and chitti was there. So now there is a no use of this. Now we are having bill of exchange which replace hundis. Hundis were very popular by that time. Basically that was a contract between the borrower and the lender, and they are basically the contract of warranty that the payment of money and it is an unconditional promise, and that could be transferred through valid negotiation. And there are different type of hundis by the time, but now they are not in use. Now we are having bill of exchange act and negotiable instrument act, and there we are having bill of exchange and promissory note. So some of the name of the hundis are there which were using by that time. That is a dhani jog. Dhani jog basically that is concerned with the that is a payment payable to any person. It is payable to any person, no liability on receiving any payment. So this is the known as the dhani jung. And then there is a sahajog. Sahajog basically that is payable to a specific person only, and liability over who received payment. So now the person who is receiving the payment, they are having the liability for it. And next is that is Furman jog. Furman jog is basically hundi made payable to order. So whenever that has been presented, there is an order that is to be paid. Now next is the dekhan har, that is payable to the presenter or bearer. And now the next is the dhani jog. Again that is payable over a fixed period of time, and to any person, and no liability on person who received it. Now the Furman jog, again there is a classification is that is mudati. These are the words that were using by that time, but not now. Basically this is the hundi payable on order following a fixed term. Now jokhmi, that is written or drawn against dispatched orders and goods, and so goods are lost in transit, then holder bear the cost and drawee carries on liability. Carries basically drawee hai, that is carries no liability. So means you will get the payment when the goods reached on time to the particular person for whom they have been sent. So all these words were there, and these are the classification. Likewise for this dhani jog we are having darshani, sara, that is sar jog, sahajog, that is darshani. Again Furman jog, darshani. So there are two types of classification, darshani and mudati, and all the other dhani jog, Furman, jokhmi, they are related to mudati. So now I told you that these terms are not used nowadays, and hundis are not used nowadays even. Now, development of engineers bank is, uh, well, people used to deposit their precious metal basically here, and with the banker or the state, whatever they are, for these banks, and these bankers and the states become the instrument for, they became an instrument for supplying money for producing more goods. So basically these are the people, definitely the exploitation from these people's side definitely was there. Now the fifth one is the agriculture and domestication of animals also help to generate surplus and saving of the investment. So agriculture for the livestock is known as the livestock, and the agriculture, they were the main component, they were the main considered as a wealth to any person, and also it gives us surplus and saving for the investment. If you want to invest, then you can purchase buffaloes and cows, likewise livestock, horses you can purchase. So these are considered as your wealth, and same in the case of agriculture. If you are having any land is there, then that is considered as your wealth. So as I told you that agriculture is the main occupation over there, and that is also agriculture product, if they are having, they are also considered as their wealth. Livestock considered as their wealth. And in India there was a favorable but there's a very favorable climatic condition, so people used to crop they used to go for 2 or 3 crops in a year. And what are the other activities they were doing except agriculture? There were the dyeing, weaving, like clay pots, and cottage industry, then transport, and such sort of car, boats, like these were there. So such sort of activities, they were being carried on by the people for earning their livelihood, except this agriculture. Now basically there was a workshop, there the skilled artisans was there, and they worked and convert the raw material into finished goods and provide the better quality or good quality product to the people. And then they were basically as considered as a family based apprenticeship, basically because these skilled artisan, they provide their skill, they used to teach their skill to their children and to their family members, and then so that they will be in the practice, and that will be passed on from generation to generation, so they become the expert in that way. So the art and skill are transferred from one generation to other generation. This was the trend. Now intermediaries were there, they have been rising up, like they played a very crucial role in promotion of trade, and it includes basically what they are considered as a commission agent, broker, distributor for wholesale and retail trade here, because for retailer it is very difficult for him to buy goods in bulk, so they were the commission agent between these two, wholesaler and retail trader. They are the distributor of a wholesale product to the retailer, and they help in expanding the business, and they bought in the amount of they bought all the goods in the bulk, and then sell it to the retailer in the small in a small lot. Then so basically intermediaries can be known as the, you can say, wholesaler also. The institutions of Jagat Seth. So that is the institution of Jagat Seth. Basically they played a very important role during Mughal period and the day of East India Company. So Jagat Seth was there, and they were considered as a banker and executor, or executor or trustee, basically because they charge very high rate of interest on foreign trade. So in the case of foreign trade, if they're providing finance to these people, definitely, because these people are having the currency which can go on, which can use for exchange in India, if that was to be used by the Mughals or East India Company. So these are the Jagat Seth were there, who are to help with the finance to these people. Now there is a credit transaction also by that time, and availability of loan also by that time, which helps to enhance the business activities. And there was a favorable balance of trade, means the favorable balance of trade means basically what happened, that in the favorable balance of trade, you can say the export is more than import or you can say payment received out of export is more than payment made on the behalf for the import. So this was a favorable balance of trade that was there by that time. Now we are talking about the indigenous banking system. They were benefited, all the manufacturer, trader, definitely whatever system was there, everybody was getting benefit out of that. And then they later on it has been converted as a commercial or industrial bank, and they also provide the short term and long term loan to the people or traders. Now the next thing is the transport. How transport has been developed from the ancient time to now. So land and water transport, basically that was there very popular. I told you in the starting of the chapter also, seaways and waterways, they have been used by the businessman for or a trader for transferring or transporting their goods from one place to another. So land transport is there because road was assumed as a very key factor over there, and the northern roadways, they have stretched from the Bengal to Texila, and there were also some there were some many trade routes in south also, from east and west. So trade routes have been used, they were very wide, and they have been used for the safety and the speed, and for the you can say for getting the cheap cost of transportation. Now the water transport, uh, water transport has been used by the traders globally, basically. um, so basically two quests have been mentioned over there, that is Malabar quest and Calicut quest. That has been Calicut quest mostly used by the Chinese, that is visited by the Chinese to for the export and import of all the pepper, diamond. They were the main item by the time: pepper, diamond, pearls, cotton from India. And then Malabar quest, that has been also used by the for the international trade and contributed a big role, a very huge role in the history of trade. And pepper by that time is considered as a black gold. And so spice route, I told you that spice route and spices has to be very much in demand by the other countries. And then here, in search of various alternative route, the many many, you can say, trials, or many there have been many trials or efforts done by the many travelers to find out the route. And discovery of America by Columbus, that was also considered as well finding the route for the more trade that was there. So many trade communities over there which dominated the trade, and some of the given name of the given over there. In the northern region, Punjabis and Multanis, they were handling the trade. And then in western India, there were the Mahajan who managed the trade, and from south, Chatis were important traders. And then in the states of Gujarat, Rajasthan, Bhats managed that trade. So likewise many trading communities name have been given over there. And then in the urban states, in the urban center, Mahajan communities, basically they represented their chief called Nagar Seth. So they were considered the chief Nagar Seth. And other group active in the urban area were, they were also the chief of their own community, that is a Hakim, Ved, Vakil, that is known as Pandit, Mullah. So all these are the communities who are controlling the trade in their own way. Now the merchant corporations are there. So another thing was there, that is a merchant corporation. Merchant corporation, basically they were make their own rules, regulation that have been accepted by the king of their particular kingdom. And then the trader has to pay the octroi duty whenever they have to import goods, and they have to pay the tax. Tax is a major revenue also what there on the trade and industry. Custom duty is also different from one commodity to another, one trade to another. And tax was the main generation of income by that time. And it had to be paid for transporting the goods, cattle, carts, whatever this. And then local bodies used to receive the tax over there. Now there was a guild, basically that is the name is given guild, that is the head of the Mahajan. And the main work of that is they used to deal directly with the king or tax collector and settle the market toll on behalf of all merchants. This is the toll tax you have to pay when you are to crossing this boundary for transporting your goods, carts, or cattle, whatever. So guild merchant were also acted as a custodian of religious interest also. They undertook the building temples and made donation by levying tax on their member. So they are getting money in this way. And due to commercial activities, big merchant gain power in the society. Definitely guild merchant are very powerful because they are to collaborate, they are to have licensing with all these king and then local bodies, tax collector. So they were the powerful people by that time. Now major trade center, what was the major trade center in the ancient India? That is the Patliputra. You just have known the name, or definitely heard the name of Patliputra. That is on Patna today. It was not only the commercial town but also a major center of the export of stones. Now Peshawar, the Peshawar, jo basically that is also, we have just heard the name Peshawar. It was an important export center basically for wool. They are the wool and the import of horse. So Peshawar is well known for wool and import of horse. and Patliputra for stones. That you have to learn also, that this is we can ask the question that Patliputra was famous for which particular export of goods, that is stone. Now it has a huge commercial transaction between India, China and Rome, basically Peshawar. This is the export center. Now next is the Taxila. It was a major center of land route between the India and the Central Asia, and it was also city of financial and commercial banks were there, and Buddhist place was there, center of learning also, and then the famous Takshila University flourished here. So that is for the education point of view or finance and banks. Now Indraprastha. These all the name we have heard from here or there. So Indraprastha, these are not the common name now. Now the Indraprastha was there. That is a commercial junction for Royal Road, and where most route leading to east, west, and south and north coverage. So that is Indraprastha. Then there is a Mathura. Next route is Mathura. That is an emporium of trade. Route from South India touched Mathura and that is Bharuch. And now Varanasi, it grew as a major center of textile industry. So that was become famous for the beautiful gold silk cloth and sandalwood workmanship. So that is Varanasi, and it has a link with Takshila and Bharuch. Now Mithila also considered as another trade center that was established trading colonies in South China, especially in Yunnan. So this is the Mithila. And now the Ujjain. Now there was a many communities over there, and there was a type of cloth, that is mellow cloth, muslin cloth, that is carnelian cloth. These were the exported from Ujjain to different centers. So Ujjain was basically famous for the cloth. Now the Surat, that is a definitely we know very much about the Surat even now, that this is a famous for cloth again. So gold border, zari, all these were the main thing that was the Surat famous for, and that was honored in far off market for Egypt and Iran basically. Now the Kanchi. So here Chinese used to come in foreign ships to purchase pearls, glass, rose stones. In return they sold gold and silk over there. Then the Madura basically it was the capital of Pandavas and Pandya, sorry. It attracted foreign merchants, particularly Roman, for carrying out overseas trade. So particular type of people, trade center attract the particular type of people or particular type of communities from the particular country as per their convenience. Now next is the Kaveri Pata, that is Kaveri Pattanam, also known as, it was scientific in its construction, as city provided loading, unloading, strong facilities of merchandise, and it was a center of trade for perfumes, cosmetics, sand, silk, wool, cotton, corals, pearls, gold, precious stones, all are there. So that is a Kaveri Pattanam. Now the last one is the Tamarpati, that is one the famous for the port, that is famous for both by the sea and the land with the west and far east, and it has been linked by the road to Banaras and Takshila. So these are all the ancient time route that has been used over there. Now definitely name has been changed, many of these. And now the next thing is major export and import. So what were the major export and import? Major export included spices, wheat, sugar, indigo, definitely opium, sesame oil, cotton, parrots, live animals were used to export over there. Animal product like hides, spins, furs, horns, tortoise, shells. So all these has been export item. Turquoise, copper, all these metals were there. Granite, crystals, quartz, sapphire. So all these are metals for the export item. Now the import item basically that is the horses, animal products, Chinese silk, and flax linen, wine, gold, silver, tin, copper, lead, rubies. All these are the item of the major import in the ancient time in India. Now next thing is the position of Indian subcontinent in world economy. So what was the position by that time? So between 1st and the 7th century they were talking about. So between this century, the India was the largest economy of the ancient of the medieval, definitely. We know that the balance of trade was also favorable by that time, and the controlling about 1/3 and 1/4 of the world's wealth. And the country was referred as the Swarna Bhumi. We are known, that is also known as Sone ki Chidiya, and Swarn deep in the writings of many travelers from between 1st and 7th centuries. In pre-colonial period when there were no British by that time, so definitely Indian economy with the European, definitely they are having a great voyage of discovery, and they are getting a very good type of product from India, and there was a great trade by that time. Now a commercial sector was growing in India, definitely, and Western Europe was there with the technology, new invention, and in the trade within the trade of the India. Now increasing the control of East India Company after that, and that is also lacking the freedom of India, and no occurrence of agriculture and scientific revolution was there, and limited reach of education to the masses after the East India Company, and all this made India a country which was prosperous but with the people who were very poor. Now the British Empire basically began to take the root in India. Definitely they in the mid of the 18th century, and the East India Company used revenues generated by all these people for their own purposes, for their own for their own country even, and they purchase the raw material species goods over there and make the finished goods in their own country, and then use India and their all the routes and the resources for increasing the revenue for their own country. That is London basically, and that is the this led to the stop of inflow of foreign exchange now in India. Now basically this changed the condition of Indian economy from being the exporter of processed goods to the exporter of only raw material and buyer of the manufactured goods. This was a policy which is adopted by the East India Company, you can say for for destroying the economy of the India, and for the development of the economy of their own country, like London. We are talking about the London here. Britisher, they misuse everything that we know very well. Now India began to re-industrialize. So now after the independence, we are talking about process of rebuilding of all the economy was there, and definitely many thing has been pointed over there. First 5-year plan was implemented in 1952, but due importance was given basically here to the modern technology. So green revolution and all these technology has been adopted over there by the time. Now, despite all these efforts have been made by the Indians, there is a lack of capital formation, rise in the population, and the huge expenditure on defense and inadequate infrastructure was there. So, as a result, India relied basically heavily on the borrowings from the foreign sources, and finally agreed on all the economic policies with the that is liberalization, privatization, globalization in 1991. Now Indian economy is one of the fastest growing economy in the world, that we know, because India is having full of resources, rising income, basically saving, investment, all these opportunities increase the domestic consumption, and younger population ensures growth of growth for decades to come, because we know that India is a younger nation, because we are having more proportion of population belong to young generation comparatively any other country. Now high growth sector have been identified over there, and they were likely to grow at a very very high speed. The recent initiative made by the government, that is Make in India, Skill India, Digital India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, as you know, and that house many foreign trade policy has been made, like 100% foreign investment is there. There have been made for upgrading, or you can say gear up the Indian economy. So now the concept is a Make in India is over there. Make in India, that is an initiative launched by the government of India on 25th September 2014 over there, and that is to encourage the national as well as multinational companies to manufacture their products in India. So major objective was there, that was to so that foreign exchange will that will be there in the India, that there is a more inflow of foreign exchange in India, and utilization of all the factors and employment generation, all were the main basic behind this Make in India. That is the job creation, skill enhancement is over there, and 25 sector of the economy which were there for upgrading all there with the more employment generation. They are the 25 sector, the like automobile, aviation, chemical, defense, electronic, many names are there, automobile company, biotech, construction, all these have been opened up to for Make in India plan, so that they can come in India and do their production activities and create job creation, skill enhancement, and more utilization of resources. So tourism, textile, like you can say roadways, railways, so like pharmaceutical, mining, in all these sectors skill job creation were there with the Make in India program.